Fiancée banned me from my dad's wedding because of my facial scars. Now she's harassing us and got arrested after we called the cops. I am 16 years old, female, and am attending high school. I've had a horrible run recently with my soon-to-be stepmother. My biological mother died when I was 6 years old. Even though I was very little and my recollections of her are foggy, I recall that my father and I adored her more than anything in the world. She was pretty much my best friend when I was a kid, and I'm grateful that I got to be her daughter for the brief time she was with us. My father was terribly melancholy when my mother died. Even though he tried to disguise it from me, I could tell he was in pain. So I tried my best to cheer him up and be a good daughter. My mother's death drew us closer together, and my father assumed the role of best friend and confidant that my mother had previously occupied. He took on the duties of mother and father with ease, and I am grateful to have had him as a parent. He has never let me down. He was always there for me as I grew up, and even when he was busy at work, I never felt like I couldn't ask him for guidance or simply talk. He always made it clear to me that he was accessible for me, no matter how busy he appeared to be, and this stuck with me. My father began dating Emily 3 years ago, and I was overjoyed for him. I thought he deserved all the happiness in the world, and I was relieved he was finally getting on with his life. I wasn't insecure, as some kids would have been in my situation. I truly supported his relationship with Emily because I wanted him to be able to enjoy his life to the best. He had done an excellent job being there for me after my mother died, and now I wanted him to be there for himself. Most of my family was surprised to learn that, at the age of 13, I had such adult thoughts, and they liked it. But for some reason, Emily seemed to be the only person who disliked me. Even though I had no issues with her, Emily's attitude toward me altered the first time we met. She had been nice to me while my father was in the room, but as soon as he left, I felt something change. I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, I can see that her demeanor toward me turned uncaring when my father was not present. When he returned, she was friendly again. I thought that was strange, but at 13, I assumed I was just overthinking things. This pattern persisted for several years. I never spoke up because I didn't consider it a big problem. When my father was not present, all she did was act apathetic, which was not necessarily terrible but also not good. My father appeared happy, so I didn't say anything. After a year of dating my father, she moved in with us and things changed dramatically. She moved in with us after a year of dating my father, and it felt strange living with her. She worked from home, and as soon as I returned from school, things became unpleasant and tense. Despite the fact that we shared a home, it felt as if she was purposefully ignoring me, pretending I wasn't there. She limited her interactions with me to a minimum, but as soon as my father arrived from work, she transformed into a completely different person, behaving like my best friend. I thought it was unusual, but because it had no detrimental effect on my life, I just went along with it and never brought it up again. We had an unwritten agreement not to bring it up for the sake of my father's happiness. I quickly understood that she and I were not close and would never be, which I was perfectly happy with. That's how we spent the previous few years living together. And my father had no idea we didn't really have a relationship. He thought we were close because of how she described our connection while he was present. They got engaged a few months ago and planned to marry last week. However, the wedding did not take place, and I feel somewhat sorry about this. Emily approached me around 30 minutes before the wedding and informed me that she did not want me to attend. She claimed I appeared too distracting, and would detract from the beauty of the event. Emily said that she had hired experienced photographers and didn't want me to damage the images, thinking I would understand. I was meant to be a bridesmaid, but she simply appointed me to please my father. I knew she didn't want me to be a member of the bridal party, but I consented since it would please my father. I also knew why she didn't want me to attend the ceremony. A dog had attacked my face a few months before. It was a tragic situation, but I was responsible for it. I have a habit of caressing dogs, so when I noticed a woman walking her German Shepherd, I crouched to pet him. I must have startled him, because he attacked me. My nose and cheeks received the brunt of it because they were at the same level as his mouth. I had to be hurried to the hospital, and while it was traumatic, I am well today. My face still has a few surgical scars, but they are mending. I'm not sure if they'll ever go away completely, but they're fading gradually. I had a difficult time accepting the notion that these scars would remain on my face for a long time. I was quite insecure, but my father convinced me that I looked great, and the scars were a sign of strength. His encouragement helped me accept my new appearance. Most people have been supportive and attempted to make me feel better, but Emily was not among them. While I knew she was superficial, I didn't anticipate her to intentionally make me feel horrible about myself. I was really hurt when she informed me that she did not want me at the ceremony. I questioned her right immediately if this was related to the scars on my face. She didn't even hesitate to tell me that she thought my face was distracting and hideous. She didn't want that in her wedding photos 10 years from now since it was unattractive and would mar the photos. As a result, she asked me to move out and requested I not tell my father about it since he would be angry at her, which was the last thing she needed on her wedding day. She explained that she was already anxious from organizing everything and ensuring that everything went smoothly and correctly. She honestly expected me to leave and not attend my own father's wedding because she thought I wasn't attractive enough. She was so entitled and inconsiderate that I resolved to finally tell my father everything that day. I didn't care if it was his wedding day. It was evident to me at that point that Emily was not the type of person who belonged with my father. However, I did not want to confront her directly, so I told her I understood and vowed to remain away from the ceremony. I also assured her that I would find an explanation to explain my absence to my father without getting her in trouble. She was naive enough to fall for it and even thanked me, saying I was doing her a tremendous service and that she hadn't expected me to be so understanding about everything. She claimed I was really mature for my age. I simply laughed it off and exited the room. We were all staying in a hotel because the wedding was taking place on the hotel grounds. After leaving her room, I returned on my own and quickly contacted my father. He was already downstairs, where the wedding was scheduled to take place, and I did not want to waste time looking for him. Even though the wedding was only half an hour away, I knew I was the only person whose call he would answer. As expected, he responded on the first ring. I instantly began my story, telling him everything without halting. I recounted how Emily had treated me over the last few years, how she pretended to be in a relationship with me solely to keep him happy, and how she clearly didn't care about me or being a member of a family. I told him that even if he went forward with the wedding, I needed to give him the truth before he made a decision. He did not say much during the call. All he said was that he was glad I told him the truth, even if it was only minutes before the wedding. He said he understood what he had to do and hung up, telling me to wait in my room until he told me to come out. For the following several hours, I had no idea what was going on. People were contacting me to ask what was going on and why the wedding was delayed, but they stopped after about an hour. Everything became silent. I tried calling my father, but it went to voicemail. I also called some of his pals, who indicated they had no idea what was going on either. Apparently, after my phone conversation, my father went up to Emily's room to speak with her and did not return. The only thing he told his buddies was that the wedding was no longer happening, and that was the message they spread to everyone, so people stopped inquiring about it. I was quite scared because I thought my father would be upset with me for ruining his wedding. I cried in my room for over 4 hours before he arrived to collect me. When I asked him what was going on, he said I didn't need to worry because we were going home. Naturally, I inquired about Emily, and he informed me that she would not be accompanying us and that their relationship had ended. He said it without emotion, so I'm not sure if he was upset about it at the time. Even now I have no idea because he refuses to discuss it. I'm guessing he's upset, but he's not ready to talk about it with me. I'm guessing he's plainly upset but refuses to discuss it so I don't feel guilty. However, it is not working because I'm not feeling well, as Emily has confirmed. She's been speaking negatively about me and I can't believe a woman her age could say such things about a 16-year-old who was only trying to protect her father. Emily has made multiple Facebook postings, but she does not mention me by name, so I can't really point them out and claim they're about me. But I know they are, since she paints me as a crafty and evil person. It's incredibly upsetting because I don't believe I'm like that at all. She claims that I purposefully chose the last few minutes before the wedding to speak with my father in order to embarrass and disrespect her in front of the guests, alleging that this was always my intention. This could not be further from the truth. The only reason I spoke with my father was because she stated that she did not want me at the wedding because of my scars. She's also claimed that I was the one who faked our relationship and never made an honest effort to connect with her on a human level. There may be some truth to that. When I saw she wasn't the same person around my father as she was with me, I gave up trying to understand or get along with her. I simply ignored her in return. But I assumed that was because she showed no desire in developing a connection with me. I can tell she's unhappy, and I feel responsible for ruining the entire wedding. Even though I know I have no reason to feel bad, I am unsure about what I did. A part of me believes I owe both Emily and my father an apology. Maybe I should have spoken up sooner. Keeping everything to myself until the wedding made everything worse, but I'm also worried I'm behaving out of emotion. I wanted to be sure I wasn't in the wrong before doing anything. Am I the asshole, AITA, for informing my father about my stepmother's behavior half an hour before the wedding, leading it to be cancelled because she made a comment about my scars and stated that she did not want me at the ceremony for the purpose of flawless pictures? Update 1. Thank you so much for your comments on my initial post. I appreciate what everyone has said. You are all so kind. I have determined that I will not apologize. After what has transpired, I genuinely do not believe I should, and I certainly do not owe anything to Emily. Everything she accuses me of is precisely who she is in reality. My father has blocked her everywhere, so she can no longer reach him. However, she can still text me, which she did. She contacted me a few days ago and went off on me about what had happened prior to the wedding. It has been over 15 days since the wedding, and this occurred around 4 days ago. It began with a routine text in which she requested if we could speak. I figured, why not, while I was still feeling responsible and bad for spoiling the wedding. That proved to be a terrible error. As soon as I informed her she could call, she called me, and when I answered, she and several of her friends began yelling at me, calling me the most awful insults they could think of. This lasted for almost a minute and a half. I was so shocked that I couldn't grasp what was going on. This was a woman in her 30s, and I understand why she didn't like me, but this was literal bullying, and I wasn't expecting it after all her posts. I suppose I should have known better and avoided interacting with her at all, but my guilt clouded my judgment. Anyway, once I came to my senses, I hung up the phone and went straight to my father. I informed him about the Facebook posts and phone call. I also apologized for keeping it from him, explaining that I didn't want to make him any more angry than he was already. Attempting to keep things from getting worse simply made matters worse. We had a serious discussion about my behavior, and he informed me that I could come to him with whatever difficulty I was having, whenever I needed his assistance, because that's what he was here for. He emphasized that he is here to protect me and that he, not I, is the parent, therefore I do not need to worry about protecting him from anything. He also informed me that I am the most important person in his life, and nothing will ever change that, so I didn't have to worry about trivial matters like him being unhappy about something so significant. He stated he was glad I came clean just in time so he didn't marry Emily, because things may have turned out a lot worse. That encounter taught me that I should quit second-guessing myself and, at the very least, be honest with my father. If anything, he is the one guy who can always get me out of trouble, and I need to be honest with him for both of our sakes. Following our chat, he decided to phone Emily and express his displeasure with how she had handled me. He wasn't aware of the post because he and his buddies had blocked her, so they had no idea what she was up to. I was the only one who remained on her friend list, most likely because she wanted me to hear all she was saying, knowing how it would affect me. I had blindly fallen for it all, without considering the repercussions. I was disappointed in myself for being so naive, but my father saw it positively. He assured me I wasn't an idiot, but 16, and that's what I'm going to use to justify all of my poor actions around this time, heh. Anyway, he called Emily, and this time, it was my father who put her on blast. He texted her to see if she was available to chat, and when she answered yes, he called her and confronted her for bullying me with her friends. He warned her that if she harassed me again, she would suffer severe penalties and threatened to report her to the cops. Then he hung up without giving her an opportunity to explain, because she couldn't truly defend her conduct. Update 2. This post comes barely a day after my last one since Emily came to our house this morning to speak with my father, and it did not go well. I'm not sure why, but she still believes she can repair her relationship with my father and reconcile with him, despite what she did to me. Obviously, my father did not open the door when she arrived. He advised her to leave because he had nothing to say and did not want to hear from her. But she refused to leave until she had a chance to speak with him. When I told her she wasn't welcome anymore, she yelled at me, telling me I had nothing to do with anything and should stay out of it. She claimed I was pushing my nose where it did not belong. This time I was not going to back down. This was my house, and she was in my territory now. I yelled back, warning her that if she tried to ruin our weekend, we'd call the cops and have her taken off the property. Unfortunately for her, she did not take me seriously and continued to argue with me, as if this would get her anywhere with my father. She's so unreasonable that she came to reconcile with my father but ended up creating a fight with me, something she knew my father would not enjoy. It was evident that defeating me was more important to her than reuniting with my father, which was heartbreaking. My father actually cared for her, and here she was making a spectacle of herself by arguing with his teenage daughter for no apparent reason other than her irrational hatred of me. After battling with her for a long time, I knew I couldn't continue. She was too illogical and unreasonable to talk to, and it was so frustrating that I couldn't even argue with her properly. She kept blaming me for everything, despite the fact that she was the one who canceled the wedding. I was growing annoyed and didn't want to quarrel anymore, so my father and I simply stopped replying to her. We called the police to have her taken away since we didn't want to waste any more of our mourning on her. She continued screaming after that, But it made no difference to us because we had finished talking to her. When the cops eventually arrived, they arrested her and took her away. I don't think it'll be more than a slap on the wrist for her, but at least she learned her lesson, which I hope will stick. She was truly startled that we had contacted the police, since she had not expected it. It was clear on her face when we walked out of the house as she was being arrested. At some point, she realized we no longer cared about her and began yelling at me even louder than before, which was a daring move given the cops were close there. She was practically demonstrating herself to be insane. She completely lost control and began yelling at me, which shocked even the officers. That's one of the reasons my father filed charges against her, even if it wasn't our original intention. But with her cursing at me, it couldn't be ignored. Her behavior was insane and sad, and I'm relieved she's gone. I sincerely hope she doesn't return because we don't need this in our lives. My father and I have dealt with enough drama to last a lifetime in the last 2 weeks, and we are finally done. Update 3. Hey everyone, it's been about 3 months since the wedding was cancelled. My father and I agreed to take a trip to clear our minds. I'm on summer break right now, and we went hiking, something my mother used to enjoy. I enjoy being in nature as well, so this is ideal for both of us. We've had a terrific time, and I'm grateful that my father and I are actively working to improve our connection. This ensures that past misconceptions do not occur again. At the end of the day, we are all we have, and he is the only family I can rely on. I need to be honest with him and tell him vital things instead of worrying that something will upset him or trying to protect him from things he doesn't need to be protected from. We haven't heard from Emily in a long time, and I truly hope that continues. I know hate is a strong term, but I don't think it describes how I feel about her. According to what I know, after being jailed, she was released but continued to speak negatively about me and my father. I honestly don't care anymore because that's the type of person she is, and we're relieved to be rid of her. It does not matter.
Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.